Hey, folks, welcome to the show. Appreciate you taking the time out to, listen again, and we appreciate the reviews and the comments. And today I've got a special guest. We've got a Canadian in the house, Robert. Is it Lowdon?
Yeah, it's
I
Lowdon.
was going to say Lowdon, but then I remembered the spelling. I was like, so Robert Lowdon. Appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule today, Robert.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. We kind of connected through a platform, and don't know a whole lot about each other, but we both have had situations in our life where we've dealt with addiction or alcoholism, and my whole goal behind this show is to really help those who either are still dealing with addiction, or really anything that's really holding them back to kind of move forward in their life. Because that was something that really was a problem for me after what I went through, and ended up in federal prison. And it was just something for 8 years I was stuck. And so, not only to give people hope and to realize that, you can make it through dark times, but also for those maybe who, have gotten past the addiction, but, are really just kind of stuck from moving forward to reclaim their life. And so, I'd love to kind of get into your story and talk about, what you dealt with, and then kind of where you've come, and, how you found the light and the success, in your life. So I'm going to let you run with it and see what happens.
For sure. I'll try to give you the short version of it to start. So I'm a commercial photographer. I definitely, as you mentioned, had my problems with alcohol. I'm sober for, I think, 11 years in September now, which seems
congrats. That's awesome.
amazing. I don't know. I started drinking early teens. Late teens became a significant problem, to the point it was just destroying my life. Almost ended up on the street and technically homeless, but still luckily had some support networks that I didn't end up that far.
Yeah.
But it was like 2 minutes away. In the late 20s, I was able to finally kick it. I guess I'll just backtrack a bit. So, I ended up kind of working in a factory for a while, and I just kind of ended up doing like just work I don't think I was really meant to do. And I think that combined with some illnesses and stuff that I had too when I was younger, like I had a seizure disorder, which kind of
Oh, wow.
messed up my job prospects at the time. Lost jobs, lost abilities to do some careers I was hoping to do, and I lived in the country, so you couldn't even have a license either. So it was kind of like trying to walk around the middle of Canada without a license, what I mean?
Wow.
So that kind of happened, and I think it just really all came to the head in my late 20s, and I just decided I was going to try to go back to school, and it just didn't work. I was still drinking. I couldn't do anything, and I just decided I was going to do photography because I'd always wanted to do it. And I just kindly was like, I'm just going to try it. And I managed to make it through school by still being like drunk every day. I don't know.
Really?
I don't know how I did it. I think I must have like
functioning addict.
Yeah. Had something pushing me forward. But then when I got out of school, I just crashed. I couldn't do it anymore. And I just kind of realized, when you get that point, like, what have you done that's making your life better? And like, you're just at the point where it's like everything I've tried has not worked anymore.
Right.
So maybe it's time for me to stop making some decisions on that. And
when you started drinking, I apologize, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No
when you started, was it more just kind of a social thing, as you were younger and people were doing it and, just having some fun, but then, it just kind of compounded?
Yeah, for sure. It's a bit for both for me. Just to clarify, so I'm from small prairie town in central Canada. I'm in Toronto now. But I'm from like a town of like 300-400 people, really.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like heavy culture of drinking out there. And then you combine that with social anxiety that I have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the type of person that kind of like the switch flips when I have a drink, right?
I totally understand that.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, for me, like social, and then amongst other things, I guess.
Gotcha. And then just Gotcha. So that, yeah, it just helped you cope with that anxiety issue. And did you, as you kind of move forward and ended up getting sober, did you have a lot of, most people, have underlying issues. And I'm not trying to say that you did. I mean, I did for sure. There was things that I was kind of masking, obviously. Was there anything, and I'm not asking you to talk about anything you're uncomfortable. If there is something, that's not my point. Was it mainly just that social anxiety that's what the alcohol helped with, or were you able to see something in your life later that, was a bigger trigger that you were trying to, mask or whatever, that then you were able to get sober because you're able to deal with that, I guess, what the issue, what I'm trying to ask.
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, feel free to ask me. I try to be open about it. I think it's helpful for people, to know that
100%.
like, because I think we all kind of have this a little bit sometimes, and we can fall down there. So if I can give some insight, I'm all for it.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
yeah, no problem. For me, like I think the anxiety was the thing that got me there, but I think a lot of stuff came out once I was there. I think some of the problems I had were like having that seizure disorder that really kind of messed with me, kind of ruined your social identity and stuff like that. There's something
You
about just,
became the guy with the seizures, right?
yeah, for sure. Right. So
Yeah,
that's,
that's terrible.
yeah, that's not fun in school.
Yeah, no
You know
kidding.
what I mean? Um, and yeah, I think like amongst other things too, there's definitely some anxiety issues and, maybe some coping mechanisms that weren't properly built. It became easy to really use that to solve your problems. And I think, like, I don't know if you've noticed this too, but I think when you drink when you're young, it kind of breaks your brain a little bit. It stops you from maybe developing some of those skills that I think a lot of people might generate in early adulthood to help with problem solving. I think it can kind of
Yeah,
mess you up down there.
yeah, I definitely could see that for sure.
Yeah.
So you get through college though, even though you're still drinking, and did you end up like hitting a rock bottom, or was it something that you just kind of sick and tired of being sick and tired and decided it was time to figure something out? Did you have any help? I mean, what helped you get sober? Because that's not easy to do.
Yeah, for me, well, I had a rock, like the rock bottom is kind of like the not wanting to be around anymore type of thing, I guess
Yep.
you could say. And that had gone on for a while. Um,
Yes.
you know, just the point of not even wondering why you're bothering anymore and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But for me, sorry, there's a bit of a siren going by here.
No
Um,
problem. Can't even hear
okay, cool. I shouldn't have said anything then, right?
it. No worries. Ones are not coming to
Yeah.
get you.
To get back to it, I think my rock bottom for me was I was starting to get a bit violent.
Really?
I kind of, yeah, I think that was like my crutch. Like I'd already said, like, well, like I'm not a violent drunk, so it's okay that I drink, right?
Yeah.
And then there was like this one incident with my brother where I started to like get violent with him, and I was becoming just this angry person that I didn't care for anymore. And I think that for me was my breaking point, just because I was so against that, for me.
Jeez. So you did you guys have like when you got violent with him, what did that do to your relationship?
Surprisingly, I think it may have helped it in some regard because I got sober after that, and
Gotcha.
he'd actually taken me in at the time because I'd lost my place because spending all my money on alcohol,
Yep.
not paying my
Yep.
rent. So,
Wow.
um, that kind of stuff for me.
So was that so when you hit that, when that happened and what was it then that you did to be able to overcome it? I mean, was it just you just had that situation happen that kind of really turned a light on the inside and you just made the decision?
Mhm.
Or how did it come about that you ended up, getting sober? Because like I say, it's pretty hard.
Yeah, for sure. I think I kind of white knuckled it for a bit. I was planning to do more of the AA route, but I ended up not doing it for me. It came with purging all all forms of alcohol out of my life, all social interactions. I don't
Gotcha.
know, to be honestly, if it was the healthy way to do it. I luckily had come out of school. So for me, it was, I just put everything into like trying to start this business and run that. And that's just what I did for 4 years straight without even looking up.
Wow.
That helped me immensely. And then I also completely, like, it's probably not the healthiest thing to do, but I cut like almost everyone out of my life. I stopped going out. I stopped doing anything that was even remotely assorted. It could be even close to being drinking. Like I was just not.
Just stayed totally away from even the
Yeah.
possibility of drinking.
Yeah. I don't even think I was in a situation with someone drinking for, I think, at least 3 years. And that was even just a social event because I was just,
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it takes. I mean, you have to change everything, at first for sure, because, we're still so vulnerable that, it's like, I remember when I went through aftercare is what I call it. I did outpatient stuff. And I remember the lady, her name was Cheryl. And I remember her talking about, as addicts, alcoholics, whatever, if I'm having a really shitty day, that maybe would trigger me to want to use, if there's nothing around to use, then I'm safe.
Yeah.
Versus also if I'm very healthy, worked on myself, I'm feeling good, and I happen to come across some pills somehow, let it be just, somebody taking them that I'm visiting, whatever, just however that happens, then there's no problem. But if I'm having that really crappy day and there is something around, then you're in trouble, most likely. And so I think you did, what you had to do to, to play it as safe as you could to help you deal with it. Do you think that also did it, as you stopped drinking, did you, obviously social anxieties, I understand that because I'm kind of like that. I don't like being around people. Honestly, a lot of people listening that might know me would not really believe that. Because once I'm comfortable, I'm totally good,
Yeah.
But I'm not the guy that's going to be at a party or show up anywhere that's going to be going and talking to everybody, So I understand kind of that social anxiety stuff. Did you also just stay away from that because that was still an issue at that time?
Yeah, for the most part, for probably about the first 1 to 2 years. And then I did the opposite and I threw myself into like networking as a business person and all that stuff.
So that's because of your business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So
yeah.
So you went all in on this photography business, sounds like. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it was. I'm still all in it. I mean,
Right.
to be honest, I probably do it a little bit almost unhealthy.
It became an addiction almost.
Well, that's what they say, right? You just replace your
Change
bad
one from the other.
with good ones, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So how long has it been since you started that?
It's been 10 years this
Oh,
year.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
you just had an interest in it. You didn't have any experience before that when you decided to go, you just went for it.
No, I did. I was taking pictures probably, well, like kind of your whole life, but really like seriously since like my teenage years and then
cool.
late teens. And then through my 20s and stuff, it was kind of one of the things that was like the only pure thing left for a long time. And it was just something I developed that I really wanted to do, but didn't think I could. And I think to get back to that too, I think is because I came to the point where I was getting tired of like dying. And then I just wanted to start living. And I think that was the path that I just went one extreme to the other. I just went, instead of like chasing death, like I'm going to try to chase life as hard as I can. Cause it became so precious, like, people along the route that don't make it through it. And you don't like, I don't know what makes the difference between me and them, but I feel like
I get that.
Yeah. I feel like I got to make it count. Right.
Yeah. So the thing that's cool to me, so you kind of had this photography stuff that you just enjoyed doing, right? And then correct me if I'm wrong, and then as you get sober, you decided to go, make a business out of it. Mm-hmm. But prior to that, you hadn't really done it as a business or done it for pay for the most part?
No, No, not really.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
well, that's cool because, like I said, lot of the people I'm trying to reach as well are people who have wanted to chase after their dream, but for whatever reasons, they're not, whether it's lack of confidence, whether it's fear of failure, whether it's, I don't think I can do it. And, someone will make fun of what I think, is cool that I want to do. There's a ton of different reasons. And I bring that up because you are the perfect example of, just going for it. And obviously, if you've been doing it a decade, something's working, I would assume.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you say it's commercial photography?
Yeah, it is. So so I work with large companies mostly. So I do like their advertising and things like that. I really kind of crafted it into like I work in scenarios that a lot of people don't normally get to do things like that. Like I'll work like in these big industrial factories, or I'll work on trains and you're riding trains around, or you're on
Really?
top of buildings, or traveling across the country and stuff. So I get to do like this really
That's cool.
different things. Yeah, it's fantastic. I love it. I've kind of like created a little area that I play in, I guess, or something
Yeah,
like that. Um, yeah, and I don't know. Do you mind if I go back and touch just on
absolutely
with your?
not. You go
Yeah, I
wherever
was
you
just
want.
yeah, with the thing with like the when you're afraid to do the stuff to start the business, the thing it's like that scares me is to look back in 40 years and think you never tried. And that's the terrifying part, because at least if you try and you fail, you can at least say you tried, and then because
That's right.
with you know,
Well, failing's part of success, actually,
oh yeah,
even, the most successful people out there failed many a times. And,
yeah,
it's just, are you willing to pick yourself up and look back and learn from it to, you know, pick yourself up and try again? Because that's
yeah,
all it is,
for sure. And if you've like overcame alcoholism, you've already probably picked yourself up for some pretty bad places. So I don't think
Amen.
anything else coming is going to be as hard as that.
Amen. Jeez, that's so true. And that's the thing too, is, what's wrong with failure? I mean,
Yeah,
it's just we've told ourselves, because we've been conditioned, that failure means, I mean, what does it mean? It means nothing. You just
yeah,
need to try a different way, or get a different approach, or find yourself a mentor, find someone. I mean, the best thing I like to say when it comes to entrepreneurship and business, find someone that's got what you're looking for, and talk to them, see how you can get, because the best way to get from A to Z is to find someone that's already done it,
yeah,
whether that's just someone you literally ask to be a mentor, because people will help, or, it's like, we'll invest in a lot of things, but so many people aren't willing to invest in themselves, which is the craziest thing, and the best of the best out there, whether you want to talk sports and your Michael Jordans or your Kobe Bryant types, if you read the books of those guys put in the work like nobody, but as we sit back, as, growing up, I'm sitting on the couch watching basketball. You just think that dude's just been born with that gift, Sure, he's athletic. Sure, he has some talent, but Jordan both those guys worked their asses off, like
mhm.
unbelievable,
I
and that I'm sure there's people in every industry out there that do the same thing. And I mean, you sound like kind of that type to me in a sense, because I can tell that, like, number one, you're passionate about what you do and you love it. And that is, I mean, I don't know how you can find a better way to live life and make a living than that.
yeah. Well,
If
thank
you can
you.
find something that you love that can make you a living,
Mhm.
that's the ultimate to me anyway.
Yeah, I think so. And I think like you can figure out what that looks like. Like there's so many tools now that you can modify to work for you, right? Like
Yeah,
you can do a podcast, right? You can make money off
exactly.
that. You can run a website. You can make a YouTube video and become a millionaire. Like who would have thought that 10 years
That's
ago?
crazy. It is.
Like,
I mean,
yeah.
I can't remember the numbers, but I mean, the number of millionaires that, people become millionaires, every year, and the demographic age it's a crazy number.
Mhm.
Like you said, it's just, there's so much opportunity with the reach through the internet that wasn't there before. It's just, are you willing to do it? because I mean, I, taught some marketing stuff over the years, and so many people are afraid to be on camera or do a live, and I get it. That wasn't comfortable for me at all, but it's just like anything. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And we just have to remember that what we think that other people think about us or what we're doing, 99.9% of the time, they're not thinking that, it's just those barriers we have that hold us back. And so, obviously you're a great example of just going all in and doing what you finally wanted to do. And it sounds like that was a huge key to helping you deal with the sobriety,
Yeah, like it was, like it saved me, I think. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think there was another way to do it.
Would it be fair to say that where you grew up and stuff played into it a little bit because it was such a small area? And, correct me if I'm wrong, I just know some cities that had huge opiate, epidemics and problems. There was, because it was almost out of boredom in a sense. I've always said, as I look back at my addiction use, the idle mind is the devil's playground. Mm-hmm. And when I was very functioning addict, in fact, my business did very, very well. And so I had a lot of free time, and that's what caused me to go down the addiction way deeper, because of that free time and because I was bored, Did that play into your situation at all?
Yeah, I think so. I think it really depends too, like what your goals in life are too, like what your motivations are, like where your standards are set too, right? Like I love my home, but I feel like so much of the bar was to just get a job that you worked for 25 years and that was your life, like, and if you did anything outside that, you were weird and what was wrong with you. And now I look at it and I just think like, my God, like, why are you living? Like, what's the point if that's it? And don't get me wrong, like if you want to work 25 years at a place and you love it and it's great for you, that's fantastic. I'm not that person.
I think most people are lying if they say they're that person, honestly. I mean, because we're conditioned though that that's what we're supposed to do, get the good job, go to school, get the good job, get the house, the white picket fence, do your 30 or 40 years and retire with your gold watch,
Yeah.
Which is pathetic because like you're living your best life now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all deserve to have that, and I think we're conditioned to just settle and we get stuck going through the routine so much that we don't even realize what we're missing or what we could have,
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's so much closer than we think it is.
Yes.
And you probably will have to suffer for a year or two when you start a business. Like that's pretty much guaranteed. But what is 2 years out of your life?
Yeah.
And if you're suffering already, like
exactly. I mean,
we
all deserve to be happy. We all deserve to feel fulfilled. I mean, it's when you do your work and obviously your clients are pleased with what you're doing because you're having success. I mean, how much better does it get than that to see, to have a happy client knowing that the work you do really impacts, what they're looking for.
Yeah. And that's important too. And I think like just even making things, like we've just gone so far from like actually producing stuff ourselves. Like I think there's just so much in that, like that ownership and like I shoot digital photography, so it's still kind of like a computer thing, right?
Yeah.
But I like to think like I make things, but like even in my personal life, like so much of my like things I'm proud of or things I get joy from, it's building things, it's making things, it's things like that. Like I feel like that's an important thing.
Well, even though you do digital, there's still a lot behind the scenes after that you do to really make your work good, I'm assuming.
Yeah, for sure.
People just think because it's digital now, you just, there's so much more to it. I've had some pretty good digital cameras. I still don't know how to, use them to maximize what they do. There's, and then after you obviously get pictures, there's a lot of editing and things that you're doing, and
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into it. So anyone that thinks that's easy, they're dreaming. So I can't even figure out the camera.
It's not actually, like, technology actually makes it worse, because like those the older guys, and I just say that the older photographers, I'm not saying they're all old
Right.
guys or guys even really, but they're all they did was drop off their film at the end of the day. They shot
Yeah.
like 5-6 rolls of film, and that was their day, and then you just drop that off. Like now it's, you shoot like 1,000 photos, and then you spend a week editing them.
Yeah.
It goes like, that's
Crazy.
everything else. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, cool. What is there any lessons that you want to share? Anything that, that really, I guess, gifts maybe that you pulled out of the darkness that you went through with the alcoholism and stuff?
Yeah. I think the biggest one is to just try and just like
Yeah.
live your life too. And I guess maybe I want to say too, like, anyone who's gone through this and anyone who's had hard times, you're tremendously stronger than most people are now, because you've been through this. You have the ability to survive through things that most people don't.
Yep.
So like, use that strength and put it towards something you want, is what I would say.
Yeah, that sums it up well. We're way more powerful than we think we are too, like, so bottom line, it comes down to just try, like you said, because if you don't, I love that your kind of greatest fear is, when you're on your deathbed, you don't want to look back and say, what if,
Yeah.
And I think that's a great driver, because I actually have a guy I know fairly well. I had seen a post a few days back, and he was on vacation in Hawaii with his wife and had a stroke, and was in the ICU over there for several days. And as I read through what he talked about, that's exactly what he talked about. I want to be the best. He's probably 8 or so years older than me, probably, and as he evaluated his life, because that's where he got, is he evaluated, he's like, I want to be the best dad, the best husband, the best friend, the best this, and do the best I can at what I do. And I know him, and he's been that guy for the most part. And he kind of realized that, but he also said, every day counts. We don't know when it ends. It can end in an hour when I leave to go to lunch or something, And so we just have to take every day and make the most of it. I think oftentimes when it comes to even starting a business per se, it would be easy to get overwhelmed thinking about what it might take, which would then stops a lot of us from moving forward. And in life, the same thing. If we think of all the things that we have to do or want to do, that can get overwhelming. If we just break it down and focus on the here and now, whether it's working on yourself or whether it's working on your business, what can you do today to move yourself forward to reach whatever goals you have in whatever area of your life, and just make it that simple. Some, from an addiction standpoint, we had to break it down to, I got to stay sober this minute, for this hour, and just not taking any of that stuff for granted and just doing the best you can each day. And not, why do we stress, think about, and worry about tomorrow? We don't even know if it's coming for us,
I'm guilty of that. I'm always looking ahead and not.
I'm the worst. I am the worst. It's not, it's easy to say, it's a lot harder to do. But it sure makes it simpler, when you can at least break, especially in business, if you can break down, what you need to do today to move yourself forward to reaching whatever that goal is, the next step in business. That's helped me tremendously, because, I often would look at where I wanted to finish, and then it's like, hell, how am I ever going to get there,
Yeah.
And then it seems like it will take so long. And so you don't do the things that you need to each day, which would then compound and get you there, much faster. Than it's easy to procrastinate and think, well, I can do it tomorrow. So, well, anyway, Robert, what are any parting words of wisdom or anything else you want to share? Share where people can find you. And as well, I'll put all that stuff in show notes, but anything you want to share,
For For sure. Yeah, I really like that part. I think so much of it is just do the best that you can at all times, and then those little things add up to big things over time. You know.
Yep.
Um, that's awesome. So for me, you can find me just at my website. It's usually the best place. So it's just my name. So it's I'll spell it for you. It's RobertLowdon.com. So robertlowdon.com. And yeah, commercial photographer. You can Google me too. Tend to show up in different places and such like that too.
That's cool. All right. And mainly you're doing your work in, I guess, wherever the client, Canada's a big place as far as east to
Mhm.
west, but you're located in Toronto,
Mhm.
right? Can you do remote stuff at all? I mean, I guess it depends on what the client's looking for.
Yeah, for sure. So I go right across Canada right now. This summer we're out to Vancouver,
Oh,
Calgary, and
wow.
yeah, I've been up to the Arctic and stuff. We're trying to figure out how to kind of spread into the US right now. We got to make sure that we do all the paperwork properly and things like that. So
Yeah.
that's something I want to do in the future is, get some staff and expand a little both ways because that's really the center of our market. Like New York's the biggest photography
Gotcha.
place in the world,
Oh, yeah.
and we're 6 hours from New York, so we're closer to New York here now than I am to my home in central Canada, which is
Yeah. And 6 hours
funny.
isn't really that bad. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, I actually used to go to Alberta quite a bit. My mom was born in Alberta in
Okay,
a little
cool.
town called Hillspring or Carson. I'm not sure where she was born, but that's where we would go all the time. And the
Okay.
Calgary Stampede when I was a kid. And
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, so it
Okay,
was pretty
cool.
fun.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, cool, Robert. Well, man, I sure appreciate your time. And like I say, I'll put all your information. I'll find a bunch of links and stuff, put them in the show notes. And if people want to reach out, they can find you there. And once again, you're an inspiration for what you're doing. And thanks again for being here.
Oh, thanks so much. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me. I had a great time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Take care.